well, it's like their cell phone or their device has become, or their smartphone, whatever you want to call it, has become an extra digit, an extra limb, another piece of their being. And for some, it's impossible to put down. There's some, and it's funny, I remember watching the old Facebook movie, and this was all about, I mean, like, it's not as if we didn't see this coming. It was all about making people feel that they were wanted. And now with the device, it's like one of those little toys that talks to you. It's like a CHML. It's one of those things that keeps our attention because it makes us feel good, makes us feel important, makes us feel connected. But it's got to the point where CAMH is going to start studying this stuff because they feel that people are picking up tendencies that are very similar with other addictions like tobacco or alcohol or drugs or gambling or anything like that. Is this something that needs to be done? Has it gone too far? Let's bring in Gary Derenfeld, social worker, yoursocialworker.com, and he is with us now. Hello, Gary. How are you today?
I can't talk. I'm busy playing with my cell phone.
Exactly. I can see your face glowing in the screen.
Exactly. We used to call it the BlackBerry prayer.
Yeah, really. But you know, I have found, especially with my kids, that this has become a great disciplinary tool because it does mean so much to them. You take their bike away, you ground them, you do this, I mean, that's one thing. But if you're restricting the use of the phone, my goodness, it does get their attention pretty quick.
Yeah, and the reason it gets their attention is because so many of our kids literally, not figuratively, literally are addicted to the device. They experience withdrawal and anxiety not being able to access it. And those who aren't addicted to the device, they still experience some mild form of tension, shall we say, if they can't access it. This is a big problem.
How do you know if you are addicted to something like this?
With any addiction. So one of some of the defining variables for any addiction is when, in a sense, it owns us, we don't own them, or it. So whether it's alcohol, gambling, sex and porn, or the cell phone, if we can't put it down, if it interferes in any aspect of our life, those are signs of addiction. If, when we do try to cease our involvement with the activity, device, or drug, and we experience upset for it, and then it's constantly on our mind, another indicator of addiction.
How do you become addicted to a phone or a device? I mean, this isn't a chemical addiction, this is a behavioral addiction. How does it have the same control over one?
You know, our neuroscientists would argue that it is a chemical addiction. They are saying that the use of the device fires off certain neurotransmitters that are similar to what we will find in a chemical or an alcohol dependency. So how does this happen? I send out a message, and I need to get that message quickly back. If I don't, I feel, what's going on? Are they not liking me? You know, I start building things into it. I start counting the number of likes for every posting that I make, and then I worry that if I don't get the right number of likes, I'm not being liked. And then you know, I may be worried, how am I going to get more likes? So we build up these fears, we build up this anxiety, we build up this panic. We concern ourselves, I need to be the last one to send the last message out. So this is how we actually do develop a dependency on these things.
Is it an addiction, or is it a sign of a greater issue? But I guess every addiction is, isn't it? Isn't that a sign of a greater issue? I guess I just repeated myself.
Yeah, some of these things are both. And this is a remarkably addictive substance. Going back, this is 2016, about 2012, I was at, I think it was Salt Fleet Secondary School here in Hamilton on the Mountain. I asked a group of grade 10 students, what are you grappling with? You know, what's going on in your life these days? One student said an issue she's grappling with is fatigue. She's always tired. Surveyed the group, about 110 or 20 students. How many of you, for how many of you is fatigue an issue? About 90% of the students raised their hand. Then I say, how many of you sleep with your cell phone, smartphone, within a foot of your head? It's the same 90%. How many of you want to be the last person to send a message out? It's the same 90%. And so we have kids going through school these days who are sleep deprived, suffering tremendously from fatigue, affecting their school performance for no other reason than there's a cell phone in their bedroom.
Constantly making a noise as soon as something comes across from Facebook or what have you.
Yeah, and then we have parents who say, I'm going to give you the device, but it's only for safety. Well, we're putting the fear of God into our kids that without this device, they're going to be raped, looted, and pillaged.
Yeah.
And this is in a world where, in fact, we are far safer than we were 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. So we create anxiety in our kids. When I do workshops, and I've been doing like scores of these workshops throughout Southern Ontario to parents through the school system, so parent evenings, I ask parents partway through the evening, please take out your cell phone, please turn it off. You got to know that half the parents in the group go squirrely.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid my phone is turned off for I don't know however many minutes that I might miss something from my child who may have been raped, looted, and pillaged. So you wonder why the kids are anxious.
Yeah.
So are we as parents. And this isn't to blame anyone. This is what's built into the fabric of these devices these days.
So why are these so attractive? What is this fulfilling for us? What need is this fulfilling? Belonging?
Well, in part belonging, but it creates, in a sense, some false needs. That we need this information at our fingertips, that we need to worry, that we need to be connected, that our value as a person is in part determined by how fast we respond and how many likes we get. It really is a crazy, topsy-turvy world, the result of these electronics these days.
I think we're more connected than we are collectors, meaning the younger generation. So I guess I wouldn't be a part of that. In my day, we would collect things. We would collect records, collect CDs, collect whatever. Now you don't have to do that because it's all on your device. You don't need these things
true.
taking up stuff.
And we're so taken up with our devices that we're not spending any time in the great outdoors. The other thing is, well, on the one hand, we appear to be more connected. In fact, we're more disconnected. When you consider the amount of meals we have together as a family, it is forever declining. When we just take a look at eye contact, okay? Mm-hmm. So now you have a family of 2, 3, 4, 5, and if they're even in the same room, who are they looking at? They're looking at their cell phones, their smartphones. So in this world of being connected electronically, we are disconnected socially, emotionally.
I remember having this conversation with you.
Oh, yeah.
And it was probably a couple of years ago, and I was telling you, and I think it was around Christmas time, too, when we were in a restaurant, and there was a family, and there must have been 12 of them at a table, a great big large table, and they were all celebrating and their holidays and such, and people there of every age group. And I looked over, and again, this was a few years ago before things got as bad as they are now, and I remember looking over, and they were all looking down at devices, and I thought it was so ironic that, there's this group of people all together, obviously for a holiday celebration of some sort, and they're looking down. But the sad part is, Gary, is that is now the norm. Now, when I said that before, I just sounded like an old guy not in touch with technology. Now it's everywhere, though.
I wrote an article about this last May, and in May alone, it got over 600,000 views, and to date, over 1 million views. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. And in that, parents are more concerned about children's behavior and childhood anxiety. We're seeing an absolute spike in recent years in childhood anxiety. And part of what I explain in that blog post from May is that it's related to this disconnect. And so if you want to treat your child's anxiety these days, where we have to go to is reconnecting. So I tell parents, when you arrive home, shout through the house, "I'm home," and I've turned my cell phone off. Those who have been to my parenting workshops, this is going to sound familiar. And because you're signaling to the child, the moment you walk in, I've done it. And we have to, as a parent, be the role model of turning off the devices. We turn off the device, we hunt down our kid, we take their face in our hands, and we give them a nice big smooch on the mouth or the forehead, whatever you're inclined to do. But we connect. And we let them know the rule is, on a go-forward basis, no smartphones at the dinner table, and we are going to have dinner. Or breakfast or lunch, whenever you're available to do this.
Mm-hmm.
As we reconnect, then we have reestablished a relationship. And I've said this before on your show, it's only through the relationship that we actually do have influence with our children, that we do transmit our morals and values, because we're actually going to talk about something. So I encourage parents to think this way. Rather than fighting with them about turning off their devices, we turn off ours first, we signal it, and we zoom in, and we hug up our kid, and then we walk away so our kid can go, what the heck was that? But it felt good.
Yeah, there's no app for that, is there?
No. What the heck was that? But it felt good.